Playboy Hi friends, Darth Momo here. Today we're gonna do something different. I know I've been doing a lot of different lately. I promise we'll kind of have a return to normal format soon. But I wanted to talk about the MCU. I never talk about the MCU. I've talked a little bit about the X-Men lately with Deadpool 3, but we mainly talk about Star Wars. So I just wanted to try to do another branch out today, and let's just rank all of the MCU, not all of Marvel, just all of the MCU on an S tier chart. So I don't know. I think it's pretty crazy when you look at like all the entries we have here. This is where Phase 4 starts. This was from here to here was 10 years, 11 years, and from here to here is in 5 years. Well, that came out in 2021, so 4 years. That's crazy. They definitely put a lot of stuff out. So a lot of these I've only seen once, and it's been a couple of years, so bear with me here. But yeah, we're gonna take it from 2008 all the way to 2024, and we're gonna rank all the MCU. So let's start with Iron Man. I'm gonna put that one in C tier. That might draw some hate mail. I promise that's one of my few controversial opinions. I don't know, like the movie's not bad, but it drags a lot for me, especially like having seen a lot of the others too, and then rewatching this one, it drags. I didn't think it was anything amazing or special like I know a lot of other people did. Incredible Hulk, I'm gonna give that one a C as well. I think the movie's all right. I know some people didn't care for it, but I didn't mind it. I thought it was fun. It wasn't anything great though or special. Next, we're gonna go Iron Man 2. It's not the worst thing in the world. I'm gonna go D tier. I don't put a lot of stuff in F tier. It's gotta be like abysmal for me to give it a failing grade. And there was some stuff to like in this one. Nick Fury and Black Widow being in it a bit more. But yeah, it's got nothing on the other two Iron Mans. It's not that great of an entry. Thor 1. A lot of people I think like this. I don't know. I'm gonna go D tier on this one. I've rewatched it too, and I actually liked it less the second time I watched it than I did the first time. I just don't really care for it that much. It just feels kind of boring. It also feels kind of like, I don't know, there's nothing to grab you in with the characters. The writing feels a little confused at times and convoluted. So, Captain America 1. I'll go B. What the heck? I mean, we'll go C. A lot of these could change for me on any given day. It was an alright movie. It wasn't like amazing. It wasn't the best thing ever, but it wasn't bad. There wasn't a lot to nitpick about it. I just didn't think it was amazing. Next, we're gonna go the Avengers. Originally, when I first saw this, I thought it was amazing, and then I rewatched it, and I got a little bored. I think it goes in B tier. I don't really know how else to explain it, but I think it's still a pretty fun movie, and it's a pretty good one, and I love like bringing together all the characters we've just met across 4 or 5 different movies in their own standalone films. Now we bring them together, and the circle scene, I mean, come on, it was fun, it was awesome. Next, we're gonna go Iron Man 3. I know some people might not like that either. At first when I saw this, it was my least favorite out of all the Iron Mans. And then I've actually just had that unfortunate, well, I shouldn't say unfortunate. I just had the happenstance where I've seen this like 4 or 5 times because I see it on TV sometimes, and it'll be sitting there on in the background. And actually, like the more I've watched it, the more I actually like it. I think there's a lot to love with like Iron Man having to learn to be Iron Man without his suit and technology, which was really cool. And I don't know, I like the plot of it. I think it's fun. I know some people might not care that I like it more than Iron Man 2, but that I like it more than the first one. I'm sorry, I just think it's got better pacing too. Thor: The Dark World. I know a lot of people would throw this instantly in F. I'm gonna go D tier. I remember I was being told when I was watching Marvel for the first time that this was one of the worst Marvel movies ever, and I watched it. And I'm like, is this great? Absolutely not. Is it bad? Not really. In fact, actually, in some ways, I think I might actually like it more than the first Thor. Winter Soldier. Everyone hyped this one up for me, and I watched it, and I'm like, okay, well, you guys really out hyped it for me because it didn't live up to the hype in my eyes. I think I'll go see. Look, there's a lot I like about it, but it's just, again, it feels kind of like the first Captain America, where it's just, yep, it's just a decent movie. um, Guardians of the Galaxy. The first one. I'm gonna throw that in standard. That was actually the first Marvel movie I ever saw. I saw that years before I saw the rest of them. I didn't even really know when I saw it that it was Marvel. I didn't really understand that, and I just thought it was a fun, awesome movie. Perfect way to introduce these characters. Perfect way to switch up the Marvel formula. Just a great remix of 80s nostalgia. Yeah, there's a lot to love about this movie. The characters are great. The writing's fun. The comedy's good. Yeah, this was a really good Marvel movie. Avengers Age of Ultron. I'm going to throw that one in D. I really don't like Age of Ultron. I think the biggest thing that kind of killed it for me right off the bat was Iron Man 3 ends with him like, I'm giving up being a superhero in the sense of like, I'm giving up I'll always be Iron Man, but we're going to settle down. We're going to stop with all this superhero stuff. And then Thor 2 also ended with him like, I'm not out for the throne. I'm here to to serve and protect. And then it's like he's back on Earth. And now Iron Man's back with being the Avengers. And I know Civil War tried to like retcon why that was, but it took me out of the movie right off the bat. And even then, I don't really think it's that good either. Ant-Man. We'll throw that in C tier. Ant-Man was fun. This is where we start to hit the point where some of the Marvel movies start to feel pretty repetitive, like the same generic Marvel formula. But I still enjoyed it. It was fun. Paul Rudd's great, and it has some great cast. Civil War. Civil War just was another one that was really hyped up for me and just didn't do it for me. Yeah, I know. The airport scene is fun. It's cool. It's great. But that's 10 minutes of the movie? 10 minutes doesn't make a 2-hour movie amazing. There's just a lot of the writing just felt confused, and it just didn't feel that the writing to me wasn't that great. The villain was extremely convoluted. The plot itself was kind of convoluted too. I don't know, I like the idea of the Sokovian chords being introduced. I like that as an interesting premise, and how that divides the team. It pretty much does what Batman versus Superman did, but better. But it doesn't mean the movie was that great. And at the end of the day, like, I don't know, the way that the Avengers, they're like apart, but then like they kind of leave on somewhat good terms with the letter and the phone that that Cap leaves for Tony. So like, I don't know, man. It's just the writing fell all over the place with this one. It had some cool fight scenes, but that's not enough to save a film. Doctor Strange. I'm gonna throw that one in C tier. Again, fine movie, but this is where we start to feel like, okay, the formula's a little repetitive. The only thing that was different about it was how he defeated Dormammu at the end by kind of outsmarting him as opposed to just a big CGI fight, which was kind of cool, but that alone wasn't like an amazing thing. It was just a little refreshing. It was cool, but again, just typical run-of-the-mill Marvel movie. Next, we're going to get to Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I'm going to throw that one in A tier. I almost thought that it was better than the second or the first one, just because it got more emotional and into the characters, and that I really appreciate. But I just think the comedy in this one is weaker. Some of the comedy's kind of cringe. Watching the first one, I think the comedy's great. It ages well. You watch the second one, and yeah, there's some good comedy in there, but then there's also some stuff that I think is just kind of cringe. If the comedy was just as sharp as the first one, I would have put this one in S tier as well. In fact, I would say that's the standard Marvel sequel. Spider-Man Homecoming, that's gonna go in S tier. I watched that movie and I loved that movie. That was one of the best Marvel movies I've seen. Tom Holland was great as Spider-Man. I think he's the objective best Spider-Man. He's the best blend of Spider-Man and Peter Parker. I think anybody who says Tobey's the best is just nostalgia bait, or is just It's because they're nostalgic for that. I genuinely think, objectively, Tom Holland is the best Spider-Man. He's got that perfect youthfulness to him. He's got the perfect optimism. He looks the part. And this movie, like, Michael Keaton's villain just being a guy was awesome. It was a perfect twist, especially how they ended up having him be the father of his love interest in the movie. I like Tony pretty much challenging Peter to be like, hey, you got to prove you could be Spider-Man without all this technology in the suit. And the end battle with the Vulture and him lifting the cement block. Yeah, it's great stuff. I love this film. Thor Ragnarok. I'm gonna put that one in S tier too. That was, especially after the lackluster first two Thor entries. I remember a lot of people said this was good, and yeah, it was. I love the Ragnarok stuff. I love the team ups. The idea of like just Hulk being out there and Hulk hanging out with Thor. Like it's an unlikely. I love unlikely team ups, and that's just an unlikely team up that I think worked great. And then Loki kind of has the culmination of his character arc, where like, yeah, he's still kind of a villain, or an anti-hero, but at the same time, like, he kind of comes around and he helps out Thor, and it's like the culmination of their relationship, and I love it. And the comedy's much better in this. Yeah, whoever put Taika Waititi in charge of this one and approved this script, yeah, this was awesome. I love this one. This one got me hyped for Infinity War 2. Black Panther, I'm going to put this one in... I'm going to put it in D tier. I didn't think it was that great. I much preferred T'Challa and his arc in Civil War. Especially, that was actually, T'Challa was one of the highlights in Civil War for me. And I would actually make the argument that he more or less goes through the same arc in Black Panther as he does in Civil War. Yeah, I didn't like it that much. I know a lot of people said it was great. You know, I understand the cultural significance of a movie like Black Panther, and, you know, that's cool, but that doesn't mean the movie itself is actually any good, at least for me personally. Next, we're going to go Infinity War. This is my favorite Marvel movie of all time, and we're going to put that in S tier because that's where it belongs. It switches up the Marvel formula just as things are starting to get repetitive. Thanos is one of the best Marvel villains in this whole franchise. Josh Brolin plays him perfectly. I love not just the fact that all these characters are crossed over now, we get all the characters from across the franchise together, but I also like the mismatched team-ups. You know, you got Thor with Rocket and Groot. You got Iron Man with Doctor Strange. Yeah, there's a lot of fun team-ups in here, and no one character feels... I mean, obviously, I feel like if I had to pick one character that's like the main character, I'd probably pick Iron Man, but that makes sense. He's kind of like the leading Avenger. Otherwise, like, everyone else feels like they're used perfectly. And the fact with just how the movie ends, and you get to that point where Thor goes in for that mark with Thanos, and if this was the typical Avengers movie, that's where it would have ended. Thor would have defeated Thanos at the very last second, and all would have been saved. Except, nope, Thanos wins. And he's satisfied. I love it. It was awesome. I've seen this movie, I think, 3 or 4 different times. Yeah, it's the best out there. Ant-Man and the Wasp. This might be the actually only one that I throw in F tier. I do not care for this movie. The writing just felt aimless, confused. This movie just felt like, what's the point of this movie? Especially since it's in between Avengers Infinity War, and we know Endgame's around the corner. I mean, Paul Rudd's great as Ant-Man, and to me, that's about the only highlight in this film. None of the villains feel fleshed out. The redemption arcs feel weird. His wife, or Hank Pym's wife being alive still just raises questions. Yeah, this is the only Marvel movie that I think I genuinely just don't like. Next, we're going to go Captain Marvel. I'm going to throw this in C tier. That might get some hate from some people. I don't like Captain Marvel as a character, and I don't like her in this film. But I like everything else about the film. I like the basic story. I like all the other characters. I like the Skrulls. So there's a lot that I do like about it. I just don't like Captain Marvel, but everything else I've thoroughly enjoyed about it, so that's enough for me to put it in C tier. It's not a B tier. That's enough for me to put it in C tier. There's a lot of C tier on this, huh? Endgame. We're gonna put this one in A. I know some people think it might be lower. Some people think it should be S tier. Look, the last hour of this film is absolutely S tier. That's how you end a franchise. That was beautiful. The only problem is the first 2 hours of the movie, especially the first hour, kind of drags a little bit. I understand why. They had a lot to wrap up, and I think it earned its 3 hour runtime, but the pacing just dragged a little bit for me, and that's enough for me to keep it in A tier. Otherwise, I would have probably put it in S tier. But it's still a very good film. Next, we're going to go Far From Home. I'm going to put this one in C tier. I think this is probably the lesser one of the Spider-Man entries for this franchise. It's all right. The stuff with the drones, the Mysterio, is just stretching grounded reality just a little too much for me. Otherwise, I liked the cast. I liked the characters. I liked the arc for Peter in this film, especially having to deal with Iron Man's loss. I really liked that. WandaVision. I'm going to put that in B tier. I think the finale felt a little flat for me. Some of the payoffs didn't end up paying off at all, like Evan Peters' Quicksilver. That just felt like that didn't really pay off at all. The payoff with the end CGI fight, just, okay, yep, we feel like we're in typical Marvel land now. But most of the story I really like. I really like the different format with the TV and the different eras of television, and then especially like the whole like 7th and 8th episodes where it's just kind of a deep dive and exploration through Wanda's character and her emotional grief. I thought it was a pretty solid story, and like especially like Wanda's a character I didn't really care about until this. Like, Wanda, okay, who cares? Like, I don't care. I'm not connected to her at all. But after watching this, I was like, okay, I actually really like this character, especially after the 8th episode, where after we see everything, like pretty much a flashback of everything she's gone through in her life, and then we get to that point where she finds that little house that her and Vision were going to live in, and she, it's right after Vision's dead, and she sees the little heart and the note on the map he left for it, and she just like loses it, and that's when she creates the fake reality. I just connected at that point. I'm like, dang, I would have done that too if I was in that point. If I was in that mindset and circumstances. Like, it just really made me connect with the character. I'm getting chills thinking about it. I thought a lot of the writing on the show was pretty good. I think the biggest problem is just the finale felt a little flat for me. That's it. Otherwise, I really enjoyed the story. Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I almost want to put this in F tier, but I enjoyed the finale enough that I'll put it in D tier. The pacing on this show is abysmal. This is one of the slowest shows I have ever watched. And slow isn't necessarily bad. Game of Thrones is a very slow-paced show, and I love that show. But the writing does not work with the pacing on this, and they both come together and kill it. The villain and the motivations just don't really sit right with you. They weren't written well, in my opinion. The characters, I'm sorry, I don't care about Bucky as a character. I don't care about Sam Wilson as a character. Like, I'm not connected to them. And this show, these 6 episodes, didn't do anything to really change that. I think the finale was kind of picked up pacing a lot. And there was actually, the finale had something to say. So that's the only thing to me that redeems it from D tier. I can't give it respect, though, for trying to dive into exploring what a blip universe looked like and post-blip looks like. So I give it some respect, some kudos and props for that. But again, just a lot of the writing felt flat. Next, we're going to go Loki. I'm going to go B for Loki. Look, I like Loki. I really loved the show. There were some plot points that they didn't feel as exciting as they could have been. There were some points where I thought Loki could have taken some really interesting story decisions, and it played it a bit more safe. But overall, I really loved both seasons of the show. I think season 2 is just on the same level as season 1. So for those who think Marvel fell off and liked Loki season 1, go ahead and check out season 2 if you never saw it. I personally enjoyed it. Tom Hiddleston still steals the show. There's a great cast in this too. Owen Wilson knocks it out of the park. I love a lot of the side characters too. Jonathan Majors was really fun in this one. And yeah, I like the show. It's not quite A tier for me. It's definitely not S tier, but it's absolutely beer. It's a or B. It's a fun one. Black Widow. I'm gonna go D tier on this one. This is one of those that because it came out years after it's supposedly taking place, like it just feels like it should have come out after Civil War. Black Widow's dead, so it's like there's not really a point to this. Really, the only thing I could think of that the show to exist is well, we kind of screwed up by not giving Black Widow a show or a film, so we're gonna give her a film, and then also to introduce Yelena, who's clearly got a role to play going forward in the future of the MCU. This is actually the first Marvel movie I had seen after seeing the rest of them in theaters, so I do have a little bit of appreciation for that respect. But other than that, like the film just falls flat. I've seen it twice, and the second time I liked it even less. There's not enough to hold you. It's just very much typical run of the mill Marvel. Next we're gonna go. What is this? What If? I'm gonna go C tier on this one. I really like the premise. I do. And some of the episodes I really loved. Like the Marvel Zombies one, I genuinely love that one. That is one of my favorite ones in the show. One of my favorite MCU stories. But a lot of the show just felt like missed opportunity. I like the idea, but a lot of the stories it chose didn't really appeal to me. Like there were some like when all the Avengers just start dying off from like an angry Hank Pym. I really like that one. But then you have like, oh, what if Thor was just a party boy? I don't care. And a lot of season 2 I enjoyed even less either, the premises. Yeah, it's just a lot of missed opportunities, but there were some decent stories in there, and there were some really good ones. So enough to hold C tier for me, but not higher. Shang-Chi. I'll go C tier on... I'll go C tier on this one. It's alright, it's fun. There's not really anything that sits with me or leaves some lasting impact or substance, but there were some fun cameos in there. There were some fun character moments, some fun action. So yeah, this to me feels in line with a lot of the typical Marvel movies like the Captain Americas and Far From Home, Ant-Man. It feels right up there. Next we're going to go Eternals. I almost want to fail this one, and I probably should. There's just way too many characters in here. It's way too bloated. The time jumping just gets a little confusing after a while. But I do remember kind of liking the last act of the film, so I think just for that I'll put it in D tier. But that's like lowest of the low for D tier. I really did not like most of this movie. You know what, actually? I'll put it in F. I think actually these are the two that I would absolutely dread having to watch again. I'd maybe have to dread Black Widow again. I don't know. Hawkeye. I'm going to put Hawkeye in B. I actually really liked Hawkeye. It was fun. Hawkeye's not a character, again, that I really like or initially had connection to before watching this, but I enjoyed it. I like Kate Bishop, too. I think they were a fun duo. It's short, doesn't overstay its welcome, and I had a great time watching it. And that's really all there is to say about that. Spider-Man No Way Home. That's S tier. That is absolutely S tier. That was not only just a fun film and a great finale to the MCU Spider-Man trilogy, but it was also a great epilogue to Tobey's trilogy, and it was also a great send-off to Andrew's trilogy, or Andrew's duology. It was, yeah, how do you not love this movie? I think even excluding the fact that, like, yeah, there's a lot of, like, cameos and old characters that get drawn in for this, like, as a film itself, I think it stands on its own. Like, nobody outshadows the MCU cast, I thought. I thought everybody from the MCU still shines and takes the reins. This is still very much clearly a MCU Peter Parker film. Yeah, and the last act, it's beautiful, and the way it ends Peter's story is awesome. It's bittersweet, and I really love this one. Next, we're going to go Moon Knight. It took us just a second to kind of pick up, so I think that's what I'll keep it in A tier for me instead of S tier. But otherwise, Moon Knight was that's probably my favorite Marvel show I've watched that the MCU's produced, and it was just awesome. Oscar Isaac is great there's a great performance in this character, or Oscar Isaac gives a great performance in this show, having the balance between the two different identities of the character, which was really fun. The characters are cool. The kind of lore is interesting, and the show is just written very well. It's got great writing, great emotional moments, and yeah, I thoroughly love this film. Or sorry, I thoroughly love this miniseries. Next, we're gonna go Multiverse of Madness. I'm gonna put this in D. Look, I saw this opening night. I had a fun time watching it. It was a fun movie going experience, but afterwards, when I started to think about it, it just really does disservice to WandaVision. And that was a show I genuinely loved. And the writing with Wanda just doesn't really thematically work with WandaVision. It's just a complete, like, regression of the character arc. Like, WandaVision has the character, like, coming to terms with her loss and learning to accept that and live with that and work with that and move on with that and become, a good guy, essentially, right? And to put all that behind, and then it's just, no, I'm evil, I'm mad, I lost everything in this world, now I want my children. Yeah, it doesn't really work for me, I'm sorry. It was a fun movie-going experience, and that's about all I can really say about it. Miss Marvel. I'm going to throw this one in D tier as well. I didn't hate it. I had a fun watching it. But it certainly doesn't necessarily, like, stand out. Doesn't leave any lasting impact with you. That's really all I have to say about it. A lot of these, again, like, a lot of this, you'll see, we've got a lot of C tier, a lot of D tier here. Nothing really, like, abysmally fails, and not a lot stands out as, like, top of the top for me. A lot of this is just typical run-of-the-mill comic book stuff, which isn't bad, but don't expect high grades from me for it. Next, we're going to go Thor Love and Thunder. That's a D tier for me. I feel like this was a case of, like, the creators of Thor 3 drunk on power, essentially. Like, they knocked it out of the park with Thor Ragnarok, so it was pretty much just do that again, but, go big or go home, and they went a little too far overboard with it. There was just way too much comedy in this. I know Thor Ragnarok had comedy. That comedy landed for me. The comedy in Thor 4 didn't. The characters are just, it's just, it's a forgettable movie. That's really all there is to say about it. I Am Groot. We'll go D tier. They're fun. They leave no impact with you, though. They're short. I could watch all this in 45 minutes. This is almost, too, like a point of, like, what was the point of this? She-Hulk. I'm going to go C tier on this one. I actually genuinely loved She-Hulk. I didn't care for the finale. I know some people liked how different the finale was. I was following the follow-through and the build-up of the first 8 episodes, and then the way the finale just kind of just, like, squandered that and just, like, rushed to the end didn't really work for me. I genuinely liked that this one, though, didn't feel like a movie broken up in parts for a miniseries. This felt like it was genuinely written for television. Whereas, like, you look at Miss Marvel, you look at Hawkeye, you look at, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, like, whether you like them or don't like them, obviously I've got mixed opinions on all those, or different opinions for all those. They all felt like movies broken into miniseries. This one actually felt like a genuine a genuine television series. So I liked it for that, and I genuinely got into it. I liked the character. I liked a lot of the humor. I liked the plot points. Yeah, I had fun watching this one. Alright, we're in the home stretch now. What's this one? Werewolf? I'm going to go C tier. I respect them for trying something different. I just didn't, I didn't love it. It wasn't amazing. But I got into it about halfway through, and I enjoyed the rest of it. It was enough to go C tier for me. Next, we're going to go Black Panther Wakanda Forever. I'm going to go C tier on this one. I liked it more than Black Panther, actually. I don't know, it was interesting. Like, did the movie need to be 3 hours long? Absolutely not. But the pacing didn't drag for me at all, if that makes sense. It wasn't, like, fast-paced, but I wasn't necessarily checking my watch the whole time either. I really liked the emotional send-off at the end, too, towards Chadwick Boseman. That was really nice. Overall, the movie was fine. It just fits up here with a lot of these entries up here, but it wasn't anything special, but it wasn't bad. I like it more than the first Black Panther. Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. I'll throw that in C tier. It was alright. It was fun. But that's really all it was. It was just a fun holiday special. It wasn't meant to be this big movie or something that leaves an impact with you like the other Guardians films. I had fun watching it, though, and that's that. Next, we're going to go Ant-Man Quantumania. I'm going to go C tier on that one. It was alright. I didn't hate it like a lot of people seem to, but I didn't love it like I know there's some people that do. It just typical run-of-the-mill Marvel. It didn't really feel like a return to form, and it didn't really feel like a tanking of the franchise either. It just felt, typical Marvel. I liked Paul Rudd in it. I liked his daughter's, or Ant-Man's daughter's character name. I don't remember her name. I liked, some of the writing is a little weird on it. Like, why didn't the mom just share what happened, what's going on? But Kang was a fun villain in this. The only thing I don't like is that they killed off what I thought was the main Kang variant that we were going to be dealing with in the MCU. I like the fact that the tease at the end of like, hey, you thought this was bad? There's a bunch of these guys out there. But this seemed like the main Kang variant, so I'm kind of a little disappointed he got killed off. Otherwise, I like it. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I'm going to go A tier on this one. It wasn't on par with the first two, I thought. I think this is probably my least favorite entry. But I definitely still love it. It's still great. I like the connection I like delving into Rocket's backstory. The characters are all fun and good. It felt like a solid conclusion to Guardians. It was an emotional ending. And it was a good send-off for the team. I had fun watching it. It was a really good one. Next, we're going to go Secret Invasion. I don't hate this like a lot of people do. It's not amazing. I had fun watching it, though. I got into it. It left some stuff to be desired. I didn't like a couple of the characters being killed off that were. I didn't like the implications of the Skrull invasion with some of the bigger characters that we know of. So it's like, well, what's that imply? How long were they Skrulls? I didn't care for that. Otherwise, the show was alright. I'll put it in C tier. The Marvels, I'll put this one in C tier as well. I can't decide if I like this one more than Captain Marvel or not, though. But I like the characters are all okay, so I didn't mind the team up. It was quick. I like the fact that it didn't try to be a 2.5 hour movie. If it didn't need to be. I think it's like 90 minutes or 100 minutes. I respect that. It just did what it needed to do and got over with. The cat scene with the Flurkins was pretty wild. I sat there laughing like, what am I watching? It was an interesting Marvel movie. We'll say that. Echo. Echo's D tier. I didn't really care for it that much. This is another one, too, where it's like, this is 5 episodes. Come on, guys. Just make it a movie. But they know an Echo movie wouldn't really sell, so that's why they made it a miniseries. Yeah, it was okay. I didn't feel like it needed to exist. Bringing Kingpin back, too, at the very end, just to... I don't even remember. Does he die at the end? I think he does. I don't remember. But it's like, I didn't really care for bringing Kingpin back from the dead. Yeah, it's just meh. I watched it because it's Marvel. I didn't watch it because I wanted to watch it. Deadpool and Wolverine, the newest entry. We're going to go C tier on that one. You can watch my Deadpool 3 review where I talk more about it. But like I said, I had fun watching this one in theaters. There was a lot of good comedy, but the story just wasn't anything special for me. I had some issues with the fact that Wolverine's a new variant. So... Yep, that's my ranking of the MCU. I think I did the math. It was like 61 entries as of now. I know Agatha's around the corner, and then Captain America 4 is next year. So, yep, I probably won't talk about Marvel again for a while. Maybe in like 4 or 5 years I'll do like a catch-up S tier ranking. Otherwise, thank you guys for joining in. Darth Momo out, and I don't know, what's a Marvel catchphrase I could say? Hey, you know what? YouTube's fun, guys. I can do this all day. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. If you liked the video, comment down below and hit that like button. Oh, and check out some of my other videos. I'm sure you'll find them delight.